When it all ends, I'll have old Buzz Lightyear to keep me company. For infinity and beyond. So long, partner.
Toy Story is one of the most influential franchises in animation and quite possibly film history, and today I'm going to go over this iceberg chart that I found for it on icebergcharts.com, created by someone who I don't know the name of, so if you are the creator of this iceberg and are watching this video, then shoutouts to you. If you don't know what an iceberg is, it is a way of displaying an array of facts, oddities, trivia, theories, etc. in order where the top is the surface level information that everyone knows about, and the bottom is where things get more obscure and dark. And this iceberg covers all of them in relation to the Toy Story franchise. I don't think that any detail worthy of the iceberg is missed, which makes this the best and most detailed Toy Story iceberg out there. So with all that out of the way, it is time to explore the Toy Story iceberg. You've Got a Friend in Me. This is the name of the song that plays throughout all 4 films of the franchise, most notably in the opening of Toy Story 1 and the ending of Toy Story 2. It was composed by Randy Newman and was nominated for Best Original Song at the 1996 Academy Awards. Lightyear. Lightyear is a spin-off film of the Toy Story series released by Pixar on June 17, 2022. It is meant to be an in-universe film that the Buzz Lightyear toy is based on in the Toy Story universe. The film is about Buzz's journey to find his way back home after being marooned on a hostile planet with his crew whilst fighting off and escaping Zurg's army. The film got mediocre reviews from critics and audiences and was only able to gross $226.4 million worldwide against a $200 million budget, losing Pixar an estimated $106 million. Pixar Theory. The Pixar Theory is a popular fan theory created by John Negroni in 2013 that proposes that all of the Pixar films take place in the same universe. Whilst this theory is most definitely false due to it being reliant on minuscule Easter eggs and made-up canon, but where do the Toy Story films fit into the theory? Well, according to the theory, the toys are powered by Syndrome 0 Point energy, and the films take place in these years. There's so much conflicting info about this online, so this may be incorrect. 1995 for the first Toy Story, 1997 for Toy Story 2, and 2007 for both Toy Story 3 and 4. Tin Toy. Tin Toy is a 1988 short film released by Pixar, and the planned sequel of the short ended up being morphed into Toy Story in 1995. The main character of Tin Toy, Tinny, ended up making a cameo in Toy Story 4 when Woody and Bo Peep entered the pinball machine. A113. A113 is the name of the classroom in the California Institute of Arts in which many of Pixar's employees were taught animation in. It shows up in every Toy Story film and is found on the license plate of Andy's mom's car in the first 3 Toy Stories and on a carpet design in Toy Story 4. Pizza Planet. Pizza Planet is a family restaurant and arcade that is frequently featured in the Toy Story series, most notably in the first one where we actually get to see the inside of one. Other parts of Pizza Planet iconography, such as the Pizza Planet truck, appear in all 4 films. It is also a parody of the real-life pizzeria and arcade chain, Chuck E. Cheese. Black Friday Rail. This is an infamous storyboard rail for the first Toy Story film which almost resulted in Disney cancelling the film. This was a result of Disney previously demanding Pixar to make the film more cynical and for adults. This resulted in Woody being a callous dictator who treats every other character incredibly harshly. It was reported that when Pixar showed this rail to Disney executives, they were disgusted with the result, whilst John Lasseter felt embarrassed through the whole thing. This almost caused Disney to completely shut down the project until they were convinced to give Pixar 2 weeks to refine the story, which ended up being how the final film turned out. Safe to say that Disney made the right decision. Kingdom Hearts 3. The video game Kingdom Hearts 3, developed by Square Enix and released in 2019, features a world that is based on the Toy Story series, with characters such as Woody, Buzz and Rex, and locations such as Andy's room showing up. The storyline of the world involves the toys teaming up with Sora, Goofy and Donald Duck in order to save Andy and the other toys, were kidnapped by young Xehanort. This world is pretty infamous for Woody's incredibly savage roast directed at young Xehanort.
My guess is no one's ever loved you before.
Woody's Roundup. Woody's Roundup is an in-universe TV series that was the origin of Woody, Jessie, Bullseye and Stinky Pete. This show canonically released in the 1950s and was incredibly popular, getting tons of merchandise for it before being cancelled before the final episode was aired, making all the toys, especially Woody, incredibly rare and sought after by collectors. Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. This was a show that aired from 2000 to 2001 along with a pilot film released in 2000 that was later edited into the first 3 episodes of the show. It also has the status of an in-universe show similar to Woody's Roundup. The show ran for 61 episodes and followed Buzz Lightyear and his team defending the cosmos from the evil Emperor Zurg. Sid is the garbage man in Toy Story 3. Eagle-eyed viewers were able to spot that Sid, the antagonist of Toy Story 1, is the garbage man who picked up the bag that the toys were supposedly in. This was found due to his signature skull t-shirt and that his original voice actor returned to voice him for this short cameo. Rotten Tomatoes acclaim. The 4 main Toy Story films all have incredibly high critic scores on review site Rotten Tomatoes. This includes a perfect 100% for Toy Story 1 and 2, a brilliant 98% for Toy Story 3, and undeservingly high 97% for Toy Story 4. This streak of brilliant critical acclaim was unable to be continued with Lightyear, which got a much lower 74% rating. Toy Story 2 bloopers. During the credits of Toy Story 2, a sequence of animated bloopers play during the credits. These have become quite iconic over the years, and if you want to know more about this and similar Pixar credits, I have a video covering this topic. It will be in the description. Forky Asks a Question. Forky Asks a Question is a 10-episode long mini-series exclusive to Disney Plus that became available in late 2019. It takes place after the events of Toy Story 4. The series follows Forky asking questions about how the world works with several other characters from the Toy Story series showing up. Andy's dad. Oh boy, there is a lot to this entry. So in the Toy Story films, Andy only has a mum, whilst his father has never been addressed in any form of Toy Story media. This has brought about a ton of speculation and theories over the years, the most prominent of which being that he died before the events of the first film, and that Woody was passed down to Andy from his father, due to Woody being a toy from the 1950s and is also incredibly rare. He is also referred to as an old family toy by Andy's mum in Toy Story 2. It was also said by a friend of Joe Ranft, a story writer for the first Toy Story named Mike Mozart, that it was revealed to him that Andy's dad died from post-polio syndrome shortly after Andy's sister Molly was born, and that his Woody was a one-of-a-kind prototype that was gifted to him due to his near-fatal disease when he was a child. This has been debunked, however, by Pixar veteran Andrew Stanton, who said that it may be true, but since Joe Ranft tragically passed away in a car crash in 2005, we cannot be sure if any of Mozart's assertions are true. Overall, Andy's dad is still to this day one of, if not the most mysterious character in the entire series. Duke Kaboom in Incredibles 2. Pixar tends to have Easter eggs foreshadowing their next film, and the film previous to Toy Story 4 was Incredibles 2, in which we can see that a Duke Kaboom action figure is inside of Jack's crib, a toy that appears in Toy Story 4, voiced by Keanu Reeves. Luxo Ball. The Luxo Ball is one of the most prominent pieces of Pixar iconography, debuting in their most famous short, Luxo Jr., and it features in every Toy Story film, most notably in Andy's house in the first Toy Story film. Lesbian Kiss in Lightyear. The 2022 film Lightyear featured a lesbian kiss between the characters Alicia Hawthorne and her wife Kiko. This was met with expected praise and backlash, with the film being banned in 14 countries, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, and Malaysia, due to Disney refusing to take the scene out for those territory screens of the film, which was caused due to pushback from Pixar employees. Small Fry, Hawaiian Vacation, and Partysaurus Rex. All of these are very similar, so I will group them all together here. These are all short films that are part of the short-lived Toy Story Toon series, a collection of comedy shorts taking place after Toy Story 3 that played before other films produced by Disney. Lamp Life. This is a short film released in 2020 on Disney Plus that takes place in between Toy Story 2 and 4. The short film reveals Bo Peep's adventures after being passed over to new owners and ending with her escaping the antique store, setting up where she was in her first appearance post-time skip in the fourth film. Another thing to add is that this was originally going to be a scene in Toy Story 4 but was cut for unknown reasons, but if I have to guess, it would be because it took up too much time. Toy Story of Terror and Toy Story That Time Forgot. Another set of entries that I'm combining. These are the Halloween and Christmas specials of the Toy Story universe, released in 2013 and 2014 respectively. These shorts take place not long after Toy Story 3 and feature lots of new characters such as the Battlesaurs, as well as overall expanding the world and characters of Toy Story. The best example of this is Jessie's character arc in Toy Story of Terror, where she finally overcomes her fear of enclosed spaces. Overall, these are the best pieces of Toy Story content outside of the original trilogy. And with that, the first layer is complete. Let's dive deeper into the next layer. Toy Story Land. Toy Story Land is an amusement park section in 3 Disneyland locations, those being in Florida's Hollywood Studios, Hong Kong, and Paris. It is a park themed entirely around Toy Story, with tons of references to the series, as well as rides themed around many of the characters, including Slinky, the aliens, and RC, with the more iconic characters such as Woody and Buzz Lightyear hanging out around the park greeting kids. One bit of trivia is the false rumour that the people dressed as the characters will freeze if you say that Andy or Bonnie is coming. Ventriloquist Dummy Woody. In some early test rails for the first Toy Story that I believe were made in 1992, Woody was portrayed not as a doll but as a ventriloquist dummy. As expected from this design, it has a comically large head and is made out of wood, and this test animation rail portrays Woody as a more villainous character, similar to how he is in the Black Friday rail discussed earlier in the Iceberg. Lunar Larry. Similar to the previous entry, Lunar Larry is a beta design and name for Buzz Lightyear. There are several concept sketches that were released in 2020 showing this design. The design features an insignia of his initials, LL, as well as a more round build in comparison to his iconic final design. But other Lunar Larry sketches do start to resemble the classic Buzz Lightyear. But overall, I would say it was for the best, as this design was scrapped in favour of what we ended up getting in the final film. Andy's mum getting a divorce. Another theory which counters the Andy's dad is dead theory is that there was a divorce between Andy's parents prior to the first film. This is backed through many small details, such as that Andy's mum never wears a wedding ring, there being pictures of Andy, his mum and Molly but none of the enigmatic father, and that the home that Andy's family are moving into at the end of the first Toy Story is noticeably smaller than the home at the beginning of the film. Toy Story 5 Backlash. Earlier in 2023, when Disney announced that Toy Story 5 was in development, it sparked a bit of backlash online. This is of course due to it being yet another unnecessary sequel after yet another conclusive ending which didn't leave much interest on what would happen after it. My only hope for this film is that it completely reverses Toy Story 4's ending, because that would be really funny. And given by the new concept art that we've had of it, this does seem to be the case, so good job Pixar. Toy Story 2 was accidentally deleted. One of the most famous stories of the Toy Story series is the accident that deleted Toy Story 2 from Pixar. This happened because an employee at Pixar accidentally put in a deletion command when doing some file clearance for Toy Story 2, which ended up deleting all the work done for the film. Amidst the panic caused by this, a Pixar employee who was working from home due to maternity leave had all the files on her computer, which was immediately brought to Pixar, leading to the restoration of the film. Books in Toy Story 1. When Woody is doing his meeting at the beginning of the first Toy Story, the names of all the books behind him are the names of Pixar shorts such as Knick Knack, Red Stream, and Tin Toy. Hakuna Matata. The famous Lion King song Hakuna Matata is actually heard briefly in Andy's mum's car during the chase scene at the end of the first Toy Story. Emily is Andy's mum. Quite possibly the most famous theory in Toy Story, or maybe even Pixar, is this one. So what is it? This is a theory that states that Andy's mum was Emily, the previous owner of Jessie who gave her away in Toy Story 2's backstory scene. The evidence for this is the red hat that Andy has in the Toy Story films, which resembles Jessie far more than it does Woody. And this hat is seen during the flashback in TS2, leading many to think that the hat was passed down from Emily, Andy's mum, to Andy. While this theory has never been confirmed by Pixar as far as I know, it's still one of the most popular and believable theories surrounding Toy Story. Toy Story Mania. Toy Story Mania is a game released for the Wii, Xbox 360, PC and PlayStation 3 from 2009 to 2012. It is based on Disney Park's theme park attraction of the same name. From what I can tell, the game is a multiplayer target shooter set in several locales of the Toy Story universe, where you would use motion control such as the Wiimote or Kinect in order to destroy the targets and win. An interesting thing about this game is that it actually came with 3D glasses which would be used to play some games within it. Dynaco Gas Station. Dynaco, the fictional oil brand made famous through its prominent role in the Cars series, actually first appeared in the first Toy Story film and is the gas station where Woody and Buzz get left behind due to their fight. Billy Crystal was supposed to play Buzz. Comedy actor Billy Crystal was actually Pixar's first choice to voice Buzz Lightyear. Later admitted that it was his biggest regret, and without question he took up the next role that John Lasseter offered him, being the voice of Mike Wazowski in Monsters Inc., a role on par with how iconic Buzz Lightyear is. So overall, it was a happy ending with him and Pixar. Randall is Andy's monster. Here is another famous Pixar theory, that being that Randall Boggs is Andy's assigned monster. This is based off this one scene in Monsters Inc. where Randall was showing off his camouflaging abilities, and one of the backgrounds shown is this one, which is eerily similar to that of the wallpaper of Andy's room, leading to this possible connection being made, although this probably isn't true. It's fun food for thought. Jesse and Rex in Monsters Inc. Another Monsters Inc. related entry. This song refers to the Easter egg appearance of Jesse in Monsters Inc., where Boo gives a Jesse doll to sub the end of the film, and during the blooper credits of Monsters Inc., one of the gags show Rex auditioning for the role with the massive monster at the beginning of the film, quite humorously. Lotso in Up. During Pixar's 2009 film Up, during the first scene of Carl's house taking off, there is a shot from the view of a little girl's room where in the bottom left corner you can see a Lotso hugging bear sitting there. This is part of Pixar's recurring Easter eggs referencing their next film, as Toy Story 3 was their next, and Lotso is of course the antagonist of the film. Flick and Heimlich cameo. Yet another crossover entry, this one maybe being the most famous of all, is Flick and Heimlich from A Bug's Life showing up in Toy Story 2. The first instance being where Buzz is chopping foliage prior to the road crossing scene. You can see Heimlich on a branch, and the next is where you can see Flick in the credits sequence thinking they are filming A Bug's Life 2, and Flick realising that this isn't their film before Buzz cuts through the bushes and chops him down. This also goes for the Woody in A Bug's Life entry, as he appears in the blooper credits in A Bug's Life. Yes, the floor here is made out of floor. This is referring to a classic meme with this screenshot which originated from Facebook in 2013. Of course, the stretched out head of Buzz Lightyear is very humorous and is one of many examples of Toy Story reaching popular meme culture. Lightyear layoffs. The Buzz Lightyear solo film Lightyear surprisingly ended up being a massive financial failure for Pixar, caused them to lose an estimated $106 million. This resulted in Pixar eliminating 75 job positions. This included Lightyear's director Angus MacLane and longtime Pixar employee and producer Lightyear Galen Sussman, who will be brought up again later in the Iceberg. Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin. While the greatest and most iconic ride to any Disney theme park, Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin is an in-the-dark shooter ride where the objective is to get the most points against a large amount of other riders by shooting Zurg symbols in these vast and really amazing looking dioramas, ending with encountering Zurg where you light him up, resulting in his public execution. Interestingly, the art style was similar to the Buzz Lightyear Star Command TV show, despite being first opened in Disney Magic Kingdom on November 3rd, 1998, before the show came out. John Lasseter allegations. Pixar co-founder and director of the first two Toy Story films, John Lasseter left Pixar in light of sexual misconduct allegations made in November 2017. According to Pixar employees, he would grab, kiss, and make comments about physical attributes. This ended up causing John Lasseter to leave Pixar in June 2018. It is always a shame when someone in charge of a monolith of your childhood ends up being a bad person, but it feels sadly common in the industry. And with that, it's the second layer of the iceberg. Time to go one deeper. Toy Story 3 Taiwan plot. The original version of Toy Story 3, created by short-lived Pixar subsidiary Circle 7, features a storyline where Buzz gets shipped back to Taiwan after malfunctioning. It's found out that the Buzz Lightyear toy has been recalled. The film then would have followed the usual gang going to Taiwan to try and save Buzz whilst he meets with toys from around the world who have also been recalled. There's a great video discussing the whole storyline by Brian Seeker, so watch that if you want a full explanation. This idea was eventually scrapped in 2007 in favour of the amazing, beautiful conclusion that we have today. Chris Evans. Bit of a weird entry, but Chris Evans is the actor who was selected to play Buzz Lightyear in Lightyear. Of course, this is all due to Tim Allen being the voice of Buzz throughout the Toy Story films. I will later go into some potential reasons as to why this change might have happened, but for now, just know that Chris Evans voices Buzz in Lightyear. Tom Hanks' brother. Tom Hanks is the voice of Woody throughout the major entries in the Toy Story series, so you may be wondering who voiced him in other media. Well, that would be his brother Jim Hanks. He voices the iconic sheriff in basically all media featuring the character outside of the films. This includes short films, TV shows, video games, theme park rides, and even toys, so we all owe a lot to Jim Hanks. The Shining Carpet. The red and orange hexagonal pattern of Sid's house in the first Toy Story film is shared with Stanley Kubrick's horror classic adaptation of Stephen King's novel, The Shining, where the carpet at the Overlook Hotel during many iconic scenes such as Danny's bike ride through the hotel is the same as the carpet in Sid's house. This is probably one of my favourite Easter eggs in the Toy Story series. Every child in Toy Story 1 is Andy. A quite famous oddity in Toy Story 1 is with the party scene in Andy's house with all of his friends. So look at Andy in Toy Story 1 and take in what he looks like. Don't look for too long, otherwise he'll be in your nightmares. Now look at the other kids at Andy's birthday party, and you will notice that they all have the same face as Andy, and the same body. And you realise that Andy is not special or unique, he is just like every other kid. And it makes me wonder where all these clones are now. But in all seriousness, this was most likely a budget-saving choice due to Pixar's difficulty animating humans at the time. Mr. Potato Head is the villain of Toy Story 1. This is an interesting thought about the first Toy Story, that the villain isn't Sid, but rather Mr. Potato Head. This thought is brought upon the fact that Mr. Potato Head heavily instigates Woody's jealousy of Buzz and his plan to knock him behind the drawers. He constantly undermines Woody and teases him about his envy of Buzz. Once Buzz gets knocked out of the window, he immediately jumps to getting Woody exiled, and getting everyone else to turn against him with little evidence. And of course the scene in the window where he takes matters into his own hands to make sure that Woody stays in Sid's house, even though it's obvious that both Woody and Buzz are there. It's thought that Mr. Potato Head wanted to use the situation to enact his own leadership of the toys, making him the main cause of conflict, and the true villain of Toy Story. Blank everywhere / I don't want to play with you anymore meme. These two are basically the same entry discussing popular meme formats. The older one contains a brilliant still from Toy Story 2 with Woody and Buzz, and would have the format blank everywhere. This format originates from 2010 according to Know Your Meme. I don't want to play with you anymore uses a still from Woody's nightmare scene in Toy Story 2. Know Your Meme says that this format originated in 2017 but gained popularity in 2018. Seamus Gordon. Seamus Gordon is a prominent Pixar theory YouTuber who has lots of videos on the Toy Story series. He also made a Toy Story Iceberg himself a while back, but I can assure you that is a whole lot worse than this one for two main reasons. His voice is even more annoying than mine, and the iceberg I'm covering is actually good, and more than just surface level theories. Plus I'm not standing in front of a whiteboard. Now actually, look at the glazing in the comments. He's not the real Toy Story guy. I'm the real Toy Story guy. So yeah, he's basically an annoying guy who makes bad videos on the series. ABC Bumpers. ABC Bumpers, also known as Toy Story Treats, were little short comedy skits that were used as ad breaks on American broadcaster ABC's Saturday morning lineup. There seems to be 54 of these made, and they look quite rough on the animation end as there were smaller budgets and time constraints. Another odd thing about these series of shorts is that they are just plain odd. Some of these are nightmare fuel, while some are actually really funny. Unfortunately, these aren't canon due to many inconsistencies with the films, and it is obvious they were made just as gags, and they serve that purpose very well. Rex and Wall-E. Quite a famous Easter egg from Pixar's 2008 classic Wall-E is near the beginning in Wall-E's truck. Behind some bowling pins you can see a Rex toy in between them for a split second. Jurassic Park reference. Another famous Easter egg involving Rex is one that takes place in Al's toy barn in Toy Story 2. When Rex gets knocked out of the car and is running to get back into it, there is a shot from the view of the side mirror which parodies a shot in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Mickey Mouse clock. Another little Easter egg that shows up in the first Toy Story is with the clock on Andy's wall. You can see that the clock has Mickey Mouse on it, with his hands acting as the clock hands. SNES Easter egg. The scenes in Andy's room in Toy Story 2 feature a Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and is also the console of which Rhett is playing the Buzz Lightyear game on. Which really makes you question how advanced the game was, because I don't think the SNES would be capable of running this game. Little side note, the PlayStation game for Toy Story 2 is actually amazing, and the soundtrack is definitely being used throughout the video. Toy Story 3 absent characters. Due to Toy Story 3 taking place 10 years after the second film and Andy now heading off to college, the amount of toys in Andy's room has been cut down by quite a large amount. Woody himself even makes reference to many of the toys who have left by the third film.
Yeah, we've lost friends along the way. Wheezy and Etch and Bo Peep. Yeah, even Bo.
However, there are some toys that go unmentioned by Woody, such as RC, Rocky Gibraltar, Lenny, Mr. Spell, Mr. Shark, Rockin' Robot, and many more of Andy's toys seen in the first two films who are absent in Toy Story 3. Toy Story Musical. Toy Story the Musical was a rock musical based on the first Toy Story film developed by Disney Live Entertainment for Disney Cruise Line. It had its official opening on April 10th of 2008. Play faithfully adapts the story of the first film, with some liberties being taken, such as with scenes involving Sid and his mutant toys, and every song from the original film being cut besides the iconic You've Got a Friend in Me. That's right, no Strange Things or I Will Go Sailing No More. Instead, there are 6 original songs made for the musical. The musical would close 8 years after opening on May 7th, 2016. Buzz's inner voice backlash. One of the biggest problems with Toy Story 4 that basically everyone agrees is terrible is with Buzz constantly relying on his voice box to give him information. The reason why this makes no sense is that Buzz has known his identity as a toy for over a decade at this point in the timeline. Even when he discovers his toyhood in the first film, he presses the button on his chest to confirm that he is the same as the toy in the advert. This story beat for Buzz only works to undermine the character's intelligence shown in previous films and his character arc in favour of cheap laughs from uncaring audience members, and was deservingly criticised for disrespecting the iconic character, although I can't find any specific examples of mass backlash. Why does Buzz freeze? This is a long-ass alleged plot hole in the first Toy Story asking if Buzz didn't know he was a toy, why would he freeze around Andy and other humans? The most common answer is that it is an uncontrollable instinct for a toy to freeze when in front of humans, but this is easily disproved by the scene where Woody talks to Sid. The best answer I have seen to counter this theory is that it is Buzz's way of fitting in with the local community. In the first Toy Story, Buzz believes that he has crash landed on a completely unknown planet. In doing so, his goal is to rendezvous with Star Command, so he enlists the help of the toys in Andy's room to fix his spaceship. There is a line in which Buzz says after he shows Mr. Potato Head and Rex that Andy has written his name under his boot, saying that he has been accepted into their culture. This shows that Buzz was trying to be respectful to the locals of the uncharted planet by following their culture, which would have most definitely been told to him by one of the toys in Andy's room. After he gets stuck with Woody, he doesn't freeze around any humans unless specifically instructed to by Woody, who he would trust given he thinks that he is a resident of the planet he has no knowledge of. If you are wondering why they remain frozen whilst inside their boxes, it is explained by Utility Belt Buzz saying that all should remain in hypersleep until awakened by authorized personnel, which is part of the backstory that all the Buzzers follow. And of course, after he jumps off the stairs, he then realizes the true reason as to why you must freeze, and does so for the rest of the series. This basically disproves the supposed plot hole completely, solving one of the longest lasting questions of the franchise. Will Poulter. Will Poulter is a British actor who is probably best known for his role as Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. What relevance does he have to Toy Story, you may ask? Well, some joke that he looks a lot like Sid Phillips. If you need more proof to this uncanny resemblance, then look at his cosplay as Sid. They look exactly the same, come on. How Toy Story 4 destroyed everything. This is the name of a 5-part series on YouTube by Gaining Magic 13, where he tears apart every aspect of the film in a very short 6 hours. Hey man, I also hate this film, but 6 hours is a bit crazy. It's a pretty good series, but it does lean to super minor nitpicks and conspiracies surrounding the director purposely making the film bad to destroy the legacy of the series, which is at the very least extremely far-fetched. If you really want to watch a long critique of the fourth film, watch Toy Story 4 Failed As Characters by Jordan Noet. It's a third of the length, more laid back, funnier, and covers much more relevant and interesting ground. Velocistar 237. Velocistar 237 is an unseen character in the third Toy Story who sends a message to Trixie during the scene where Woody finds out how far away from Andy's house he is. Their message states, "You there? I made it to the Dark Fortress." And Trixie says that they are just a dinosaur toy, probably a velociraptor given the name, and fun fact, the 237 is actually a reference to The Shining. Woody's gun holster. Another long-standing question about the Toy Story series is Woody's mysterious gun holster. Why does he have no gun? If it was originally a part of Woody, wouldn't Al notice? In Al's apartment there's a toy gun, so part of the Woody's Roundup collection. The mainly accepted answer was found in the Toy Story 3 video game, where there's a collectible called a Woody's Roundup card. One of these cards is called Gunless Law. This could explain that Woody doesn't believe in violent solutions and would rather resolve things by driving RC cars into people. This is shown in Toy Story 3, where Woody risks his life to save Lotso, who put his friends through hell at Sunnyside Daycare. However, this is actually disproven just by looking at the back of the box to the 1995 Toy Story toy line, where it says that the character Woody used to have a handgun but misplaced it. So that is the answer to this long-standing question. I would like to thank Digivolve's Reddit post on r/Toy Story where they posted their findings. ToyStory.exe. ToyStory.exe is another creepypasta type horror game which was created on December 30th, 2014 by Oldham77. The game follows Woody, who after Andy accidentally takes his head off whilst playing with him, gets possessed by an unfathomable being called Respiro. Due to this, Woody would kill Andy in his sleep and then go on to take out the rest of Andy's toys one by one. The first playable toy is Rex, where after chasing Woody for a bit he gets caught, dragged away, and Woody shoots his head off. Mr. Potato Head is up next, and Woody, now called Woody.exe, backs him up into a corner in the kitchen and burns him to death. The last playable character is Rocky for some reason. He passes by a bunch of dead toy soldiers and then tries to attack Woody but disappears. Rocky then escapes into the garden where he battles with Woody.exe and wins, but he mourns for the friends that he lost along the way. But after it is revealed Woody.exe is still alive and will get back at him, and a to be continued screen pops up hinting at a sequel. Toy Story 2.exe and Toy Story 3.exe also exist, but I won't talk about them as they are not on the iceberg. But overall, these are just fan creations with clearly a lot of passion behind them, even if the games look very crude. The Black Friday Incident. Another creepypasta entry, this one inspired by the troublesome development of the first Toy Story. In this story, the Pixar staff give their revisions of Toy Story where every single time Disney refuses them and tells them, "Edge, the film needs more edge." No matter what Pixar did, working around the clock and meeting impossible deadlines, nothing could appease Disney's demands. Edge, the film needs more edge. Due to working 24/7 every single day, some of the writers and storyboard artists began suffering from chronic insomnia, with some even reporting seeing visions of Woody and Buzz taunting them by chanting, "Edge, the film needs more edge." By November of 1992, there were only 2 of the 5 initial writers and only 1 of the 3 storyboard artists left due to many quitting because of the stress involved in the project. This lone storyboard artist was named Ralph Thompson, and he would constantly work on making the film more edgy and drawing the same characters over and over again, in the same room, over and over again. One morning, John Lasseter and other Pixar higher-ups went to Disney to show them their progress, but Disney were not satisfied, demanding that they must show the full film in storyboard form in the next week, and of course, edge. The film needs more edge. When that time came for Pixar to present the finished product to Disney, it was around 48 minutes long. Began with a Wild West scene where Woody would shoot down Andy. This would be revealed to be a game in Andy's head. There were little problems for the first 20 minutes of screen time, although some parts were perhaps a bit too edgy. An example being that Mr. Potato Head would pull out one of his eyes to look under Bo Peep's dress. Some of the familiar scenes play out as they should, such as the claws scene and the toys turning on Woody after he knocks Buzz out of the window. Past this, the storyboards are low-quality chicken scratches and disturbing sights begin to occur, such as Woody peeling his own flesh off with realistic blood going everywhere, and him ripping the top half of his own head off and writing the word "edge" on the screen. The last 15 minutes of the reels were scribbles and the word "edge" burned into the screen. After the reel was shown, Ralph Thompson was found the victim of a heart attack brought about by the stress and lack of sleep. He was buried in paper with the word "edge" on every single one in his office. After this incident, Disney got less involved with the film, leaving Pixar to create the masterpiece we are all familiar with. And that concludes layer 3. Still 2 more layers to go, so let's go deeper yet again. Coco Pinatas. Glad to lighten up a bit after the last 2 entries. This refers to a scene in Pixar's 2017 film Coco, where in a shot of the street you can see pinata versions of Pixar characters such as Buzz Lightyear, Woody and Mike Wazowski. Of course, the Toy Story characters are the reason why this is on the iceberg. Toy Story 4 scrapped love story plot. When Toy Story 4 began production, it was intended as a love story between Woody and Bo Peep. John Lasseter described it as not a continuation after 3, but rather a new chapter for the series. The film would have been a romantic comedy prominently focusing on Woody and Bo Peep and would not have had a very big focus on the interactions between the toys and the kids. This honestly would have been so much better than the finished product, but it was scrapped due to philosophical differences within Pixar. A shame as this would have been a fun film. Michigan. This is one of the few entries on the iceberg of which I have no definitive answer as to what it is. Some people say that the Toy Story films take place in Michigan, the US, but I have not seen any definitive proof to support this. I've also seen some people say the films take place somewhere in Northern California because when Etch sketches a map to Al's Toy Barn, there are routes and roads that apparently are in California. It's likely that the entry refers to the belief the films take place in Michigan, although I think it's more likely that they take place in California. Why don't Lightyear characters have toys? The Lightyear film is not just a film for us, but is also presented as the inspiration behind the toy itself. Since the Buzz Lightyear toy is incredibly popular given how Barbie said in Toy Story 2 that the toy stores did not order enough Buzz Lightyear to satisfy the demand for them, this makes it reasonable to wonder that if this film is so popular in the universe of Toy Story, then why are the only toys seen of them in the films Buzz and Zurg? There are plenty of other major characters in the film, as well as characters who seem that they are meant to be merchandise, such as many of the robots seen in the film and Socks the Cat, who you can't tell me wasn't made to be a marketable toy. So why don't they have toys? Well, it's because Pixar reasonably didn't have the foresight from 20 years prior to this film's release to put in the characters from it into the background of the 4 mainline films. Mira, Booster, and XR. Mira, Nova, Booster, and XR are all major supporting characters in the Buzz Lightyear Star Command pilot film and TV series. They all have toys of their own in reality, but they are not seen anywhere in the film despite the background of Buzz Lightyear Star Command being that it is the inspiration for the Buzz Lightyear toy, making this quite similar to the previous entry. Tortured, deleted scene. Torture is a deleted scene that is on the Toy Story 10th anniversary DVD, which is partially animated. It is an alternate version of the scene where Sid burns Woody, but has an additional segment in dialogue where he attaches Buzz onto a drill and spins him around before letting him fly. There is more where he finds Woody, and you can get a better idea of what Sid was doing to Woody when interrogating him on the location of the Rebel base. These POV shots are actually quite cool in my opinion. After slapping Woody, the scene will continue as usual with Sid burning Woody. I'm not sure why this segment was cut out, maybe because it was a bit too harrowing to a very young audience, but I think it would have been a fun addition to the film. NFL Toy Story Fun Day Football. NFL Toy Story Fun Day Football was an event/alternate broadcast of the NFL game between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Atlanta Falcons that took place on October 1st, 2023 and was available to stream on Disney+. The gimmick was that instead of the telecast with analysts and pundits in studio space inside of the Wembley Stadium, the telecast took place in Andy's room, with the whole game being animated onto it. Original characters meant to be Andy's friends were the reporters, and there were appearances from many of beloved Toy Story characters. Overall, this is just a really weird spot in Toy Story's history which I don't see happening again anytime soon. Is Zurg future Buzz or his father? This brings attention to the inconsistencies between the main Toy Story films and the Lightyear spin-off. So of course in Toy Story 2, when Zurg has utility belt Buzz cornered on the elevator ready to finish him off, they do a fun Star Wars parody where Buzz says that Zurg killed his father, and Zurg replies,
"No, Buzz, I am your father."
In the Lightyear film, the plot twist is that Zurg is actually Buzz from the future, which is really weird because the toys in the Buzz Lightyear toy line and universe are very set on the pre-established storyline. And since Lightyear is meant to be the film that inspired the toys, Zurg should not say he is his father, he should say, "No, Buzz, I am you." This retcon of the Buzz-Zurg relationship was clearly done because they wanted Lightyear to have an unexpected storyline at the expense of it making sense within the context of Toy Story 2. But as far as I can tell, literally no one likes this twist, including myself, so they should have just kept the Star Wars parody. Senorita Cactus. Senorita Cactus is a cut character for Toy Story 2 and was going to be the third member of the Roundup gang. She was replaced by Jessie prior to the film's release. Her character would have been more of an accomplice to Stinky Pete when compared to Jessie, and would have just absolutely hated the idea of being played with by a child, instead wanted to be kept in a museum like Stinky Pete. In the original climax of the film, Buzz and his troop hijack Al's car and try to get Woody out of the boot, only for Stinky Pete and Senorita Cactus to try and stop them. They would eventually fall out of the car and end up being picked up by two kids on bikes. Despite being cut from the final film, there are numerous Senorita Cactus boxes present in Al's toy barn in the final film. Skin Sully. In the Partysaurus Rex short from 2012, there is a little Easter egg that some take as a sign of a dark end for an iconic Pixar hero, being James P. Sullivan from the brilliant Monsters Inc. series. In a scene, you can see a toilet seat cover that resembles Sully's fur pattern. Some people took this still and started believing that this actually is just Sully's fur, as he has been killed and skinned, even going as far as creating a Mandela effect where Randall says, "I heard humans skin monsters and make toilet covers out of their fur," and Sully responds with, "That's nonsense," which was created as a joke after the short's release, which was taken as fact by media journalist outlets such as BuzzFeed, so absolute W trolling. Overall, this is just an Easter egg which theorists had some fun with. Toy Story 3 Game Praise. This entry doesn't really refer to anything specific, I don't think, but there has recently been a resurgence of the Toy Story 3 game online, with some calling it the perfect Pixar game. And there is even a video documenting the game's speedrunning history, summoning Soul Style, which is pretty cool. WALL-E and Toy Story 1 hoax. A classic Pixar hoax that has been around since the 2000s is WALL-E appearing in many Pixar films, most specifically Toy Story, The Incredibles and Cars, which all came out before WALL-E, but Toy Story is why this one is on the iceberg. In the classic scene where Buzz takes flight and misses the truck, and right before the duo drop into the car, it was claimed that you can see the lovable trash compacting robot WALL-E. Wait, no you can't, that's just a bin, sorry guys, but this is a hoax. It was even known as such since 2008. I find this plays off the fact that WALL-E was in production for 14 years, so it could be probable that WALL-E would have a cameo, as the idea would have existed for a year by 1995 and Pixar's continued run of referencing their upcoming films, To be honest, for a video made in May of 2008, the editing is really good, making this quite a fun entry on the iceberg, one of my personal favourites. Chucky similarities. I do believe this entry refers to a theory put on r/fan theories by a now deleted user who detailed some similarities between Toy Story and the Child's Play series. There are kids in both series called Andy, and in Child's Play there is a detective named Sid. And since the Toy Story team are likely to be big fans of horror films due to the numerous references to The Shining in the first film, it can be assumed that these were intentional references to the Child's Play series. But the user said they got this information from a CinemaSins video, so take it with a grain of salt. Revoltech Woody. In 2010, Japanese toy company Kyoto released figures in their Revoltech line of Woody and Buzz, but the Woody figure has become quite infamous due to meme culture. Why? Well, it's because there's an alternate faceplate for Woody which looks a lot like a troll face. The figure was then put into the meme world through a DeviantArt page called How to Crazy Woody, where people could share their images of their Revoltech Woody figure. Now with a face like that, you could probably guess what scenarios Woody was put into, but to catch some people up, people put Woody into perverted and other edgy scenarios, which are very funny in my opinion. The figure has since gone by many nicknames, the most common and well known of which being Creepy Woody and Hentai Woody. Mr. Potato Head reused lines for Toy Story 4. During the production of Toy Story 4, Mr. Potato Head's voice actor, legendary comedian Don Rickles, tragically passed away at age 90. This caused Pixar to reuse archive and previously unused audio to uphold his legacy. Doesn't seem this was too much of an issue for Pixar, as Mr. Potato Head's role in the film is so minimal he could have been cut out and nobody would notice, which is probably the reason why he wasn't recast, similar to Slinky. His original voice actor Jim Varney sadly passed away not soon after Toy Story 2's release at age 50, and he was recast by Blake Clark, as he had a large role in Toy Story 3. I digress. Overall, Mr. Potato Head's lines are all reused from previous material. If you want some peak fiction featuring Don Rickles, then watch Casino. Benson was based on Slappy from Goosebumps. This one is honestly pretty self-explanatory if you just compare the designs of Slappy the Dummy from the 2015 Goosebumps film and Benson from 2019's Toy Story 4. You get a very clear resemblance, making it obvious he was based off the icon and his design is a homage to the classic character. Woody Yard Sale Toy Story 2 deleted scene. This is an alternate opening for Toy Story 2. It has incomplete animation as you would expect for a deleted scene and is honestly pretty entertaining. It follows the toys creating their own playtime set piece with Rex causing some mischief by killing soldiers before Buzz shoots him in the head, causing him to comically trip over and knock down a bunch of objects lying around in Andy's room, ending with him flipping a toy that Woody was sitting on, causing him to go flying out the window and ending up in a box at the yard sale where the scene ends with Al pulling up to the curb. This contrasts the film where Woody purposely goes to the yard sale to save Wheezy, ending with him being stolen by Al. Apparently this scene and setup for the film was altered due to the creators finding the scene to be way too coincidental, which I have to agree with. Humans are disgusting expensive to animate. Although I cannot find the specific quote that the entry is referring to, I can explain the general gist of the entry. So basically, according to Craig L. Good, who was a Pixar camera artist, human characters were incredibly difficult for Pixar to animate and very costly too. So it was eventually decided that there would be no dad in the story as it was unnecessary, and instead had Woody be a symbol for Andy's father in the film, with scenes in the first film such as where he says to Buzz, "Take care of Andy for me," suggesting there is a paternal connection between the two and that Woody is filling in the father void in Andy's life. Lesbian couple controversy, Toy Story 4. Unfortunately, the Lightyear controversy was not the first time there was backlash to LGBTQ representation in the Toy Story franchise, as there was a controversy surrounding Toy Story 4 featuring a lesbian couple, with the conservative anti-LGBTQ group 1 Million Mums calling for a boycott of the film, which obviously had no effect on the film's box office success. The scene in question is literally two women dropping off a girl at school in the background, kind of similar to the lesbian kiss in Rise of Skywalker, which incurred a similar reaction at the time. A lamp in Toy Story 1 is Luxo lamp. The red lamp that Woody accidentally knocks Buzz out of the window with in the first Toy Story film is actually the iconic Pixar lamp itself, Luxo Jr. or Senior, I don't know, it's one of them. Of course the colour of the lamp has been changed from its signature silver to a red, because why not? There are so many Easter eggs to Pixar short films in the first Toy Story discussed earlier in the iceberg, they was probably included as a bit of fun for the Pixar animators, or to save time and money on making a whole new lamp model. Shut up Buzz, I'll kill you. Probably the most recent entry on the iceberg is this meme that originates from the viral video Curse Woody Sings a Song uploaded by Aaron Fraser Nash on October 22nd, 2023. The video is just a rap song of Woody going on about how he has been left behind by Andy and his friends, but the chorus is where the meme clip comes from, where Woody says, "Calm down, Woody, we're your friends," of which Woody replies with the infamous line, "Shut up, Buzz, I'll kill you." This is repeated with other characters telling Woody to calm down, where Woody replies he's gonna kill them. This blew up with people making variations of the chorus with other franchises such as FNAF, and people making really funny comments unironically praising the video, such as this one here. I remember getting to this meme early and finding it really funny at the time, and very surprised to see it blow up, making a really weird addition to the large impact that the Toy Story series has had on meme culture. Toy Story 4 alternate ending. All films go through multiple drafts and things change as the production gets closer to completion, and parts that are usually effective are the endings of films, and Toy Story 4 is no different. This alternate ending was probably going to be the ending from when the film was more of a romance than an adventure film. This alternate ending, Woody and Bo do not end up together, and Bo instead deciding to leave her independent, childless life behind upon seeing a kid who she connected with and decide that she is the one for her. Her and Woody share one last embrace before saying farewell and parting ways, with Bo going back to being a toy and Woody presumably going back to Bonnie and the gang. To be honest, I way prefer this ending. I think it's a much more respectful send-off to these beloved characters, with it staying with the "life's only worth living if you're being loved by a kid" mantra that the main characters abide by in the first 3 films. Josh Cooley said regarding this scene that you want a Toy Story ending to be really impactful and emotional, which applies to this scene, but Woody was not changing as a character, so he decided to go with a much worse and contradictory ending to the series. And this entry concludes layer 4. So let's go deeper for the final time and go to the final layer of the iceberg. Holocaust theory. This is another theory to add to the pantheon of old fan theories, but this one has been a thought since the film's release in 2010, with people thinking that Toy Story 3 is an allegory of the Holocaust. This entry does tackle some very heavy subject matters. If you want to skip ahead, I'll put a timestamp on screen, and for those sticking around, I'll try to tackle this as respectfully as possible. According to the theory, the toys that are left behind are a representation of the Jewish people being abandoned by their countries as the Nazis took over Europe. The film tackles the toys reevaluating their self-worth in their rapidly changing situation, with Buzz suggesting that the toys take refuge in the attic, similar to the famous diary of Anne Frank. Other bits of allegory involve a representation of the Sonderkommando, who are imprisoned Jews who help the Nazis dispose of other Jewish prisoners, the characters alluding to this being Ken and other members of Lotso's core gang in the film. Finally, there is an incinerator at the end of the film that seeks to burn all of the unwanted toys. Some claim that the ending of the film is actually the afterlife of the toys, as they have been burned in the incinerator, with others insisting that the political forces of World War II are represented by other forces in the film, with Lotso representing Russia and the Claw being the other allied forces. This happy ending is said to hint at the formation of Israel, which is why the film is seen as a proponent of Zionist ideology by believers of this theory. And that is the Toy Story Holocaust theory. I hope I was able to discuss it in a mature and concise way. In my opinion, it's an interesting thought, but is most likely unintentional on Pixar's end. Disney fired woman who saved Toy Story 2. Galen Sussman is most well known for being the woman who saved Toy Story 2 from deletion by having a backup copy of the film at her home, which was discussed earlier on layer 2 of the iceberg. After a while of working at Pixar, she became a producer at the studio and was a producer for Lightyear. When the film bombed at the box office, losing Pixar an estimated $106 million, many of the team who worked on Lightyear were targeted by Pixar for layoffs, where Galen Sussman was laid off by Pixar on May 23, 2023, after working at Pixar since the first Toy Story film back in 1995. Disney doesn't like Tim Allen. This is a thought that some people have as the reason for why Tim Allen did not reprise his role in Lightyear, where Chris Evans took his place as the voice of the iconic character. The choice to transfer ownership of the role was seen as weird by many, and still is, to be honest. Producer Galen Sussman came out with saying that Tim Allen is the voice of the toy, and they are not making a Toy Story film, they are making a Buzz Lightyear film, and I need a way to distinguish the two, so they decided that a new voice was best fit to achieve this. But that doesn't really make any sense, because toys based on films or TV shows would always have the voice box be recycled clips from the original product or new lines, but most likely done by someone with a similar voice to the original character, such as Jim Hanks voicing the Woody toy. And Tim Allen's and Chris Evans' Buzz sound nothing alike, so some people think there was a more nefarious reason as to why he wasn't asked to come back. The most common thought among this crowd is that they didn't rehire Tim Allen due to his conservative views on politics, which clashed with Disney becoming a more liberal company, making him not suitable for a Disney product of today. This is untrue, as he has recently returned to work with the studio, making Galen Sussman's odd comments the real reason why he wasn't casted in Lightyear. So I guess Disney doesn't hate Tim Allen. Logan Paul LGM hat. By the way, LGM is an acronym for Little Green Men in reference to the aliens of the series. So you know the infamous Logan Paul video where he went into the Japanese suicide forest and filmed a dead body and uploaded it to YouTube? Yeah, that video. Well, in that video, Logan Paul himself is wearing a hat for the aliens from the Toy Story series. Those poor aliens have seen so much, and it's all Logan Paul's fault. This is honestly one of my favourite entries on the iceberg, because what are the chances that Logan Paul will be wearing Toy Story merchandise for one of the most infamous videos in YouTube history? Woody vs Chucky rap battle. There are several videos of Woody and Chucky facing off in a rap battle, with two of them even having over 1 million views, while this video will probably get about 10. Anyways, this one by channel Freshy Canal was released on August 16th, 2019 and is the 12th installment of the channel's rap battle series. This video is definitely better than the one I'll bring up soon. The roasts are a lot better, although still pretty awful, and the Woody voice is hilariously bad, but it's a fine enough video. Now the other video with a whopping 2.1 million views, Woody vs Chucky cartoon rap battles by Kloby Productions. And oh my god, this is YouTube Kids tier content. You can't tell if they are roasting each other or just presenting a school project together. These voices are also terrible, and I have to send my best wishes to the animators of both of these videos, because they deserve way better than this. Both of these came out mid to late 2019, which I guess is because both franchises had a new entry that came out in that year. Since both center around sentient toys, people decided to make them have a rap battle for views, and to be fair to them, it definitely worked. Child's Play 2019 posters. Wow, once you look at that, 2 Child's Play related entries in a row, what are the odds? But this one is a whole lot more interesting and cooler than poorly made rap battles. So during the lead up to the 2019 Child's Play film's release, a multitude of teaser posters which poke fun at the posters for Toy Story 4, which was also released that year. The Chucky victims presented with these teaser posters are Woody, who probably got stabbed in the back, Slinky, who is getting cooked, Rip Bozo, and Buzz, who has been shot with his famous ray gun. These posters all share the background which the Toy Story 4 character posters had. Another one with a different style was this one where Chucky is about to make Mr. Potato Head a victim after stabbing him in the head. Overall, this was a fun marketing campaign by the studio with a fun connection to the Toy Story series, which lands it on the iceberg. Buzz Cup Straw. A simple, funny entry for you all here as this iconic drinking product, where just by looking at the top, you find Buzz folding his arms, which looks pretty sick. But then you look downwards and what the hell is this? Yes, this is the infamous Buzz Lightyear cup straw. To be honest, I think that the craziest part of this is when you are sucking on the straw, you're forced to look directly into his cold, dead eyes, and you realise what a terrible mistake you made by buying this cursed product. Al is based on John Lasseter. Al the Chicken Man McWiggin, also known as the best character in the franchise, is loosely based on John Lasseter, the director of the first 2 Toy Story films and one of the founders of Pixar. The character is inspired by the fact that John Lasseter is an avid toy collector similar to Al in the film, with these toys in his collection being Toy Story and Cars merchandise. Some of the toys that Lasseter collects are one-of-a-kind or antiques, which is quite similar to Al collecting the Woody's Roundup toy line, which is said to be a collection of rare and discontinued items in universe. Lasseter also likes these toys to be kept in pristine condition similar to Al, to the point where he would freak out if he ever saw any of his children playing with these toys and would get them newer toys to play with. It took me ages to find information on this, but the Pixar wiki clutched heavily, so big shout outs to them. Fate of Stinky Pete. In the climax of Toy Story 2, Buzz and the gang defeat Stinky Pete, and they, along with Woody, throw him into this girl's bag, where it is assumed that he starts to get played with by the girl through decorating him, which he seems really happy about. So this brings the question, what happened to Stinky Pete after this? The other villains have pretty clear fates. Sid becomes a garbage man as seen in Toy Story 3, also gets stuck to the front of a garbage truck for the rest of his life, and Gabby gets a happy ending by being with a kid. The Prospector, on the other hand, we have no idea what happened to him after the events of the second film, but that hasn't stopped people from making theories about his fate. There are 2 problem ideas of what happened to Stinky Pete after Toy Story 2. One is that he stays with the girl and lives out the cycle that he proclaims when he is defeated, where he either gets stored away, put in a landfill, or given away to new owners. It can be assumed that he grew to enjoy this way of life. The second option is that he escapes shortly after being brought to the girl's house, where he, similar to Lotso, would become an even more resentful and bitter character who would be trying to get to a museum so he can be loved due to his heritage in the Woody's Roundup toy line. He could even grow to become a sort of dictator similar to Lotso, but in reality we have no concrete evidence as to what happened to the Prospector, and I think that series is better for it. Shrimpo Hunter. Shrimpo Hunter is a series made by YouTuber Super Mario Logan that for some reason stars Woody and follows his adventures searching for and hunting shrimpos, which are his favourite food and wild animals in the Super Mario Logan universe. The series started way back on August 28, 2010 and lasted for 5 episodes. As of me writing this script segment, the series has a total view count of a whopping 13.1 million views. The last episode released after a 2-year-long hiatus on March 20th, 2010, and has the most views out of the series. There was a 6th episode in production, but Super Mario Logan decided to cancel it, with there being no further details regarding it since 2017. To me, this is one of the strangest inclusions in the Iceberg, as it is entirely fan-made material, but I can say it is an interesting way to use the character of Sheriff Woody. Walking Dead Shared Universe. This is a fan theory that started gaining traction around 2017, proposing that the Toy Story and Walking Dead universe have basically the same characters and plot. The first connection is between the characters of Lotso and the Governor, as they are quite similar as they welcome the main characters with open arms but have secretly sinister motives. Another connection is the relationships that Woody and Rick Grimes have with their kids, in the sense that they love them more than themselves it seems, but their kid starts to grow more fond of the hero's best friend, which ends up resulting in a scrap underneath a truck, one more literally than the other. That ends the solid connections, as the rest of them are tenuous at best, such as the connection between Stinky Pete and Herschel, as they are both old, have white hair and use a walking stick, and the presence of disfigured, shambling corpses in both series. These connections are obvious reaches, but they don't take away from the creativity of John Ray, who came up with this very interesting fan theory. So are these two franchises a part of the same universe? No, they are not, but I'm still a fan of this theory. Lotso was meant to be a Care Bear. Toy Story 3's villain Lotso was actually originally conceived to be a part of the Care Bear toy line from the early 1980s. This idea lasted a while, as there are storyboards of this original design showing how committed Pixar were to this idea. This art can be seen in the tie-in book The Art of Toy Story 3. Looking at the designs for Care Bears in the 1980s, you do see a design similar to that of Lotso. I think that would have helped to make the twist in the film more shocking due to the contradicting design. But I think that the final design was the best option. I'm glad that Pixar went with it due to it making Lotso more intimidating than a design with a giant heart on his body. What gives a toy life? This has been a long-standing question since the franchise's inception, but I believe it was exacerbated due to the release of Toy Story 4 and the character of Forky present in it. There are really no solid answers to this question, so I'll try to explain some differing views. First is the thought that anything that a kid plays with and imagines as a toy is a toy. This one is more and more basic and easily disproved, as there are many instances in the series where a kid plays with an object that we never see a sentient, such as Bonnie's cardboard spaceship or Andy's train set, both for Toy Story 3. The next is anything manufactured as a toy is a toy, which is also disproved by the points just mentioned, but also gets muddled up due to Forky's existence, as he is made up of parts that were not manufactured as toys, making this explanation incorrect. A popular one is that love and attention is what grants a toy life. This one is messy to me, as Toy Story 2 features Al's Toy Barn, where the unpurchased toys are the Barbies and utility belt bars have sentience, although this could be explained as they are display toys who could get attention from kids, which could give them life. Their lack of connection to any kid whilst unpurchased makes me think this theory is also false. This one also makes me question whether their sentience deteriorates if an already owned toy gets abandoned or put into a landfill. There will most likely never be a watertight answer to this question. I personally do not care for it, so I really have no opinion on this. Andy's mum's toys. Another joke entry on this final layer of the iceberg, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's a sex toys joke, okay, and you know what, it's really funny and quite fitting for the final layer. Thick Bo Peep. You may think this is a joke entry or fan art orientated, but no, because Pixar ended up giving Bo Peep the Pixar mum treatment in Toy Story 4. Maybe she had these assets the whole time and we couldn't see it due to her wearing a dress that has fixed into place in her appearances earlier in the series, but yep, it is definitely clear to see in several scenes in Toy Story 4, including the scene where Woody and Bo reunite in the park and the scenes where they enter the secret club to find Duke Kaboom. DeviantArt and Reddit took off with this design, and memes and fan art are in abundance if you are already that interested in the subject. There's a snake in my boots Mandela effect. This is an interesting entry that I wasn't familiar with at first. So you know Woody's iconic phrase, "there's a snake in my boot"? Well, apparently some people thought it said, "There's a snake in my boots," causing a Mandela effect. In case you don't know, a Mandela effect is a phenomenon where a large group of people collectively misremember something. But why would anyone think the phrase would be grammatically incorrect? One snake can't be in more than one boot at a time. Well, it's because of this scene in the first Toy Story where Woody and Buzz have a heart-to-heart at Sid's house, and Woody pulls his string saying the iconic phrase.
There's a snake in my boots!
Did you hear it? I'll play it again.
There's a snake in my boots!
It very much does sound like he says boots rather than boot. About 8 years ago, a now deleted Reddit user posted about this saying that it was always boots, and this scene in Toy Story 2 where Woody messes around with the Woody's Random Collection made everyone believe it was boot the whole time.
I get it. There's a snake in my boot.
3 years after the initial post, the same user posted this. "I have the signature collection Woody toy, and when you pull his string, he says, 'There's a snake in my boot.' There's a little distortion sound to make it sound more old. That's why it sounds like he says boots." So in reality, he never said boots, and the confusion was caused by an audio distortion effect. To be honest, I don't get how people thought it said boots. Sure, it does sound like it in that one scene, but it being grammatically incorrect in the Toy Story 2 scene should have immediately dispelled this notion, and it's probably the reason why I've never heard of this before researching for the iceberg. Obi-Wan cameo. This is probably one of my favourite Easter eggs in the entire franchise, and it takes place in the pinball machine hideout location inside the antique shop in Toy Story 4. When Woody and Belle are passing through, you can spot some retro Star Wars action figures. They are based on the original line of Star Wars toys from when the film first came out. The characters are Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ponda Baba, who was originally named Walrus Man, and he appeared to reenact the scene from A New Hope where Obi-Wan uses his lightsaber to cut Ponda Baba's arm off. A little plus to this is when the arm does detach, the Wilhelm scream plays.
Sure.
Yeah, you mess with the cat, you get the claws.
Scrapped G.I. Joe character. The G.I. Joe series is a very old toy line debuting in 1964 with its action figures being military themed, and due to the franchise's popularity, Pixar wanted to use any one of its characters for the first Toy Story film. It was revealed by John Lasseter in the DVD commentary for Toy Story that he wanted to use one in the film, but Hasbro declined as they were upset they would get blown up by Sid. So they invented the character Combat Carl to stand in as a parody character in his later appearances in the short films, leaving any G.I. Joe character scrapped from the series. Comics. Surprisingly, the Toy Story series has crossed into the medium of comics multiple times. The first time was with the 4th issue of Disney Comic Hits, which was published by the then independent Marvel Comics and was released around the time of the film's release. And looking through the archives, you can see there's a recap of the entire film with panels using screenshots from it. There are some parts cut out, such as the Mrs. Nesbit scene being reduced to 2 panels and the fight between Woody and Buzz being reduced to just 1, and even some extra dialogue added in, such as Buzz talking to himself after seeing the advert because they couldn't have "I Will Go Sailing No More" told by a disembodied voice or have it playing while you were reading. There were 2 other original stories in this series, being issue 5 and issue 9. In 2007, Pixar licensed many of their series to Boom Studios Comics, one of which being Toy Story, and they started off with a 4-issue miniseries titled Toy Story: The Mysterious Stranger, and each of these stories take place between Toy Story 1 and 2. They then made another comic line for Toy Story, this one being 8 issues long. It was meant to be longer, but rather randomly Boom Studios relaunched the series as Toy Story Tales from the Toy Chest in 2010, which introduced Jessie and Bullseye to the series and was meant to bridge the gap to the second and third films. But only a single 4-issue long story arc was released for the series. The comics then returned to being published by Marvel through making comic adaptations of the first 3 films and also created their own 4-issue long miniseries. Finally, there was a one-shot anthology comic by Dark Horse Comics that was made to tie into the 4th film and takes place after the events of the film. Overall, these are fun alternative ways to consume the series, and I'm glad they exist, if only for the original Toy Story recap comic. Tiger Baby Rattle scrapped character. I believe that this entry refers to the character Shakes the Rattle, who was planned to appear in the first Toy Story but was scrapped prior to the film's completion, but we know of him due to his appearance in a storyboarded scene. The scene is an early concept for Sid blowing up Combat Carl, where after Woody and Buzz have their usual talk, "I'm gonna teach that kid a lesson, why don't you mail him with your scary laser?" they get interrupted by a toy ring telling the story of Shakes the Rattle, who Sid got a hold of and was never seen again. But he's heard the screams and has multiple theories of what happened to him, including that he got pulled apart, and that he was melted in acid with his eyes pulled out first so he could watch. Despite this, he says that Shakes was lucky, as there are far worse things than death in Sid's room. Woody openly mocks the story and shakes it off as any usual scary story. It's said that this scene was scrapped for how scary and uncomfortable it was, although Tom Hanks and Tim Allen had already recorded their lines for the scene. Evel Knievel's son sued Disney over Duke Kaboom. Evel Knievel was a daredevil stunt performer who gained fame for his spectacular stunts in the 1970s. He sadly passed away in 2007 due to pulmonary heart disease. In 2020, one of his children, Kelly Knievel, filed a lawsuit against Disney and Pixar over the character Duke Kaboom, saying that Evel Knievel did not thrill millions, break his bones, and spill his blood just so Disney can make a bunch of money. The lawsuit alleged similarities in the look of Evel Knievel and Duke Kaboom, and said their propelled stunt toy sold to market the film was similar to one Knievel released in 1973, and that Disney did not ask permission to use a character based on the stunt performer. Kelly Knievel seeked damages of more than $300,000 on charges of false endorsement and unjust enrichment. After a few days, the case was dismissed by the judge as Duke Kaboom passed a test applied to artistic works to balance potential trademark infringement with the First Amendment rights. He ruled that the use of Knievel's trademarks was not enough evidence to prove the likelihood of consumer confusion, as there were enough differences between the two, noting Duke Kaboom's different facial hair, name, hair, jumpsuit, and backstory made the character distinct from the iconic stuntman. Knowing the power that Disney holds, it's not surprising that they won this case, and it's a pretty weird situation overall, but also understandable from the family's side as the two are pretty similar. Bo Peep vs. PETA. You may be familiar with the infamous animal rights organisation PETA, as whilst their cause is good, they have many controversies following them as well. To me, the Super Mario 3D Land Tanuki suit incident comes to mind, so why did they want to face off with Bo Peep? Well, it's due to her signature crook that has been a part of her design since the very first film. PETA sent a letter to Toy Story 4's director Josh Cooley on February 1st in 2019 begging them to remove the crook from the final film as they considered it cruel and outdated, as it is used to forcibly move sheep around by their necks, and that 2019 progressive Bo Peep would bop the shearers rather than the sheep. The final paragraph states, "We know that kind people everywhere would sing your praises and Bo Peep's too with this change. Best regards, Lauren Thomason." This is ultimately one of the more harmless attempts from PETA in regards to appealing against classic character designs for the sake of animals, but the attempt proved futile as Bo Peep's crook is still very much present in the final film. You Are a Toy original name. This entry has haunted me for 2 whole days of research, but I faintly remember hearing that one of the rejected title ideas for the first Toy Story was You Are a Toy, seemingly based on the hilarious and iconic scene and quote from the film. Does this line make sense as a title? Probably not. Just to add some more to this entry, Toy Story 3 director Lee Unkrich in 2011 revealed a list of rejected titles for the first Toy Story. There was apparently a list of around 200 names, but only 16 of the rejected titles were revealed, and some of these are really interesting. Here are some of my favourite ones. Made in Taiwan is so random that it's funny. Bring Me the Armor Buzz Lightyear. This one could be a good name for a short film set in the Buzz Lightyear game from Toy Story 2. Each sold separately and some assembly required are 2 good toy related titles. Toys in the Hood is an especially baffling title for quite obvious reasons, but it now makes me want to rewatch those Toy Story Ghetto dubs. The only one that could be a contender to be the official title is To Infinity and Beyond, to be honest. So judging by these rejected titles, it could be possible that You Are a Toy was one of these considered titles, and like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure I remember hearing about this years ago. Stinky Pete post-credit scene removed from Disney Plus and DVD. Remember this scene that plays during the credits of Toy Story 2 where Stinky Pete talks to the 2 Barbies in his box where he says he can get them roles in the next Toy Story, then after realizing he's being filmed he escorts the Barbies out of his box? Well, Pixar and Disney quietly removed this scene from the credits of Toy Story 2 on DVD and Blu-ray releases of the film, on Disney Plus, and also probably on TV airings of the film. This was done in wake of the Me Too movement, as Stinky Pete's conduct in the scene is reminiscent of Hollywood's issues with producers forcing young actors to perform sexual favours in order to get roles. Another reason why this scene was removed was due to Pixar's own issues with misconduct in the workplace, especially since Toy Story's creator John Lasseter was accused of misconduct and was forced out of the company as a result. In my opinion, this scene shouldn't have been taken out. I'm not a fan of censoring art, and this is just a gag during the credits of a Toy Story film and is completely harmless. But at least we can still see the scene through YouTube uploads. Toy Story U. The final entry on the entire iceberg is Toy Story U, a troll pasta which has 10 parts, a holiday special and a beta version. I don't think that words can do it justice, so I'll just read a segment of the first part. So here's Toy Story U. Listen, Toy Story is an incredible franchise. I just saw Toy Story 4 on 123movies.com and I'm typing this from the toilet as I shit myself. During this vast and inclement shit, I decided I would watch Toy Story 3 as well, but my shit would take a dark and horrific turn as I would discover another Toy Story movie that shouldn't exist. It was called Toy Story U. I'm not sure if that was supposed to be a creepy ass grin or a letter U, but I clicked on the film anyway, wondering what Pixar would blow my ass away with next. After navigating the usual 9,865 ads, I finally was treated to the opening of Toy Story U. We see the Disney castle opening per usual, but this weird red tint kept growing as really fucking dramatic opera music played. We hear some horrendous fucking screamo cover of You Got a Friend in Me mixed in with gunshots, heavy drums on monastic chanting, as the camera overlooked a very real inner city neighbourhood and showed some ugly fuck Karen throwing boxes of toys into a dumpster. A blue Buzz Lightyear emerged from the dumpster with a gun to some horrifying opera. "Mwahahaha," Blue Buzz said as he began to slowly pull the trigger. A loud, raspy voice said, "Shit!" before everything suddenly switched to animation. We then see Woody. He's on a computer trying to reinstall the 79,546 viruses that Bonnie got from coolmathgames.com. Suddenly, Woody whipped out a pistol, said, "Shoot for the U," and blew the fucking computer away, destroying half of Bonnie's fucking house in a massive explosion. Woody then wakes up in a forest, realizing the whole thing never happened. Woody looks over next to him and there's Bo Peep. Suddenly, Careless Whisper began to play as Woody said, "Oh yeah," in a really uncomfortably sexual tone. We see Buzz after the events of Toy Story 4. He became one of Bonnie's favourite toys. He suddenly screams while Bonnie is playing with him after seeing the blue Buzz Lightyear outside his window. Buzz starts screaming expletives and flipping everything off, much to Bonnie's horror. He then shoots a massive missile out of his ass and says, "Shoot for the U," destroying all known life in Antarctica. Blue Buzz Lightyear is seen crawling out of the wreckage with a white flag. "I surrender, I am French, I surrender," he screams in a highly French accent. This is when Duke Kaboom appears, says "Ritual" and explodes, sending a realistic fucking Keanu Reeves head flying into Blue Buzz. The John Wick logo faintly appears. We see Ducky and Bunny are trying to carjack some lazy fuck who can't even be asked to get out of his car. Ducky finally pours fucking gasoline all over the car and lights a match. The man breaks down his door, falls out and runs away as Ducky and Bunny begin to laugh in Egyptian. We then see Ducky and Bunny plush rush an entire gas station. Blood spatters across the windows and screams are heard as the camera fades to black. The end appears in red dripping chiller. We then cut to Bonnie's dad throwing mini-mates all over the fucking floor and the other toys interacting with them before some loud, smelly fuck comes barging into the room and shoving the mini-mates up his ass and yelling. The man bursts mini-mates out of his ass all over the room and faints. Ritual. The footage then cut to the opening of Disney's Lion King remake right during Circle of Life. Suddenly, in the middle of the song, steamrollers come smashing through the jungle, tearing down trees, spraying shit into the air and bowling over the lines to this brutal fucking metal music. The text "Welcome to America" appeared on screen under a large American flag. Suddenly, we see Mr. Incredible imitating a VSCO girl and yelling at Violet about becoming one. That's when a horrifically muscular and large fucking Winnie the Pooh bursts into the room and starts trying to tackle Mr. Incredible to the ground while saying and shh. Mr. Incredible suddenly pulls out a gun labelled Furry Convention and shoots Winnie point blank, spraying blood all over the room. I was seriously beginning to wonder what fucking drugs I was on when suddenly horribly recorded footage of a bunch of construction guys falling down a flight of stairs played. One of the guys drops a blue Buzz Lightyear toy. Blue Buzz begins to laugh and says "Shoot for the U" as he winds up a laser cannon on his finger after being plush rushed by Ducky and Bunny. The end appears once again in red dripping chiller. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Well, that's the end of the ultimate Toy Story iceberg. This was a really fun video to make and I think I now hold the title of the most knowledgeable Toy Story fan. If you made it to the end of the video, then you have my thanks. Months of effort went into this video, so it would be greatly appreciated if you would drop a like and subscribe if you learned something new about the franchise today. If anything I said was inaccurate, then please comment below with corrections, including your thoughts on the video and what your favourite film in the franchise is. Mine is Toy Story 2. I hope to see you again in my next video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.